Hello, students, and welcome to today's lecture, which is going to be how to do molar mass conversions. And this is mainly a lecture on how to go ahead and convert from a mass of a substance to moles of a substance, and from moles of a substance to mass of a substance. Okay? So this is a fairly easy concept, but it's one that we definitely want to make sure that we get down all the way, because it's a substance that we're concept that we're going to use quite frequently. And the whole reason that we're going to use it frequently is that in chemistry in general, we like to make sure that we're using moles, because moles is how we directly compare one molecule of something to another. Okay, so in general, when we compare a chemical reaction, what will happen is that we'll say that we have 1 mole of a substance combining with another mole of a substance. And it's because moles are kind of interchangeable with our singular unit here. Okay. In this case, though, we can have, partial moles, and, you guys will see that here. So what we have here is we have a question. This is going to be a fairly common question for us. And it's going to be how many moles are in 0.58 grams of copper sulfate. And this is copper 2 sulfate. Okay. And so what we're going to do is we're first going to go ahead and, why don't I actually go ahead and type out what we're first going to do. So our first step is always going to be to write out what we have. Okay. All right, so that's always going to be our first step in any problem that we're doing. We're going to write out what we have. Our second step is that we're going to go ahead and make a line. And our conversion line, we're going to go ahead and on the top, put the unit that we want. And at the bottom, we're going to put the unit we want to get rid of. Okay. Then at the end, we're going to go ahead and add our numbers. And then we're going to go ahead and solve. Okay. So this is an example of, essentially us trying to figure out or get the process down for solving for molar mass here. And we're going to be doing all 6 of these steps here in a second. Okay. So this first one, we have 0.58 grams of copper sulfate. Okay. So we're going to start by putting this down 0. Well, this would be easier if I had the draw tool selected. And let's go with a nice blue color today. So we're going to have 0.58 grams. And just a second, I forgot that this is much easier if I draw on it when it's on a flat surface. And this is copper sulfate. Okay, in particular, this is copper 2 sulfate. Okay, so all that we've done is we've done step 1. We have written down what we have. Now we're going to go ahead and draw our conversion line. Okay, and next we're going to go ahead and on top put what unit that we want. Okay, and you could tell what unit that we want because it's usually indicated, okay? It says how many moles or how many grams or how many liters. It doesn't really matter what. It says how many of it, and that's what's going to go on top, okay? So we're going to put moles, and because we're lazy, we're going to write MOL for moles, okay? I understand it's only 2 letters difference. However, laziness is just ingrained in the chemist, okay? And then the last thing is the unit that we want to get rid of, okay? Well, we're looking for moles of copper sulfate. Therefore, we want to get rid of this grams because we don't want grams, okay? So we're going to go ahead and throw it away, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put in our numbers. So what we've done is we've essentially solved this using our units, okay? In fact, an easy method here is that we can go ahead and write what our units are going to end up being at the end. We know it's going to be moles, and then copper sulfate. Okay, now we're going to put in our numbers, okay? We put 1 in for moles, and for grams, what we're going to have to do is we're actually going to have to figure out what the grams of this is, okay? So we're going to have to do our molar mass that we learned, last week. So we have copper, and how many coppers do we have? We have 1. We have sulfur, and of that we have 1. And then oxygen, we have 4 of those, okay? Now, copper, that ends up having a molar mass of 63.54. Sulfur has a molar mass of 32.01. And oxygen has a molar mass of 16.00. Okay? So this one, I can't do addition and multiplication together, so we'll turn that into 64. Okay. So now we'll have to just go ahead and add all of these numbers together. Okay. And what I'm going to tell you flat out is that I am not really interested in seeing how you guys do your addition and subtraction. I'm not really interested in that. What I am interested in you guys showing that you understand how to do molar mass. So I am entering this into my calculator. I would expect that you guys also enter it into your calculator. And I get a total of 159.55. Okay. This here is the molar mass of copper sulfate. So we're going to go ahead and put it in here. We're going to put in 159.55. Okay. Now what I do it to make it easier on myself is I'll draw this line out, and I'll go ahead and take and see, oh, hey, look at this. We have 0.58 times 1 divided by 159.55. So 0.58 times 1 and then divided by 159.55. Okay? And I get a relatively small number. Okay? So I should get 0.00365 moles of copper sulfate. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and go back and I'll see, hey, I have 2 units here. I need to make sure I have 2 units in my answer, so I'll have 0.0036 moles of copper sulfate. Okay, and this is just like the basic way that we do this, okay? And I want you guys to take special note here of how we're solving this, because this kind of solving method is called dimensional analysis, and it's a great shortcut to use if you don't want to bother looking up or figuring out or memorizing how to solve a whole bunch of different problems. That as long as you use your units to solve it, you'll go ahead and have an easier time solving, just about any problem that you come across. So we're going to go ahead and work on the next one. And this one here says that we have 12.3 moles of iron 3 phosphide. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say, all right, what do we have? We have 12.3 moles of iron 3 phosphide. And this one ends up being FeP. Okay, because the 3 charge from the iron is going to combine with the phosphide charge, which is also -3, and then they crisscross. Okay, our next step is to draw a line, and the unit that we want is going to go on top. And we could tell we want grams because we have grams here. So we'll put grams on top, and then the unit that we start with is going to go on the bottom. Okay. Anytime we have moles, 1 will go with it. And here, grams, well, grams is going to be the molar mass of this one. Okay? And we can go ahead and do a quick check here, make sure that we have the right units. Here, moles cancels, and we're left with grams of FeP, which makes sense because that's what we want. All right, so let's go ahead and figure out our molar mass here. We have Fe and we have P. We'll go ahead and go here, go to ptable.com. Iron is 55.845. We have 1 times 55.845. Phosphorus, P is 30.974. Let's make a better X, 30.974. Okay. And in this case, the formula is ridiculously easy, so we're going to have 55.845 times 30.974. Okay. Or, sorry, it should be plus 974. Sorry, I got a really large number there. Plus 30.974. Okay, so we should get a total of 86.819. Then we'll go ahead and draw our line out all the way through, and we'll be like, hey, we have 12.3 times 86.819. Okay, and we should end up getting a lot of grams. 1067.87. Okay. Notice we have 3 units in our answer here. We should have 3 in our final one. Point should be 7. 0 grams FeP. Okay. So this is how we solve one that goes the other way. Now notice that we didn't actually have to do any complicated solving because we solve via our units first, okay? And you guys might notice like, oh, well, if it's moles, I have to multiply by grams, okay? And that should make sense. A couple of things that you should notice is that if it is asking for grams, that number should always be more than your moles because, everything has a weight to it versus 1 mole. Okay. Next is our problem right here. How many moles are in 35.4 grams of magnesium chloride? Okay. So it's the same process as before. Okay. We're going to be like, okay, we have 35.4 grams, And this is magnesium chloride, okay? Magnesium, as a reminder, is a compound. It's +2 because it's one of our special ones. It's +2. It's in the second column and it's a metal, so it loses 2 electrons. Chlorine is here. It's 1 away from the noble gases, so it's -1. It'll take 2 of the chlorines to balance the charge. Therefore, we're going to have a formula of MgCl2. Okay. From here, we're going to go ahead and draw our line. We're going to say, okay, we want moles. Moles will go on top. And then grams will go on the bottom because that's the unit that we start with. The number 1 will almost always go with moles. And then we're going to solve for the molar mass now, okay? So magnesium, we have 1 of them. Chlorine, we have 2 of them. And I know chlorine's, I think, 35.45, I think. And magnesium, I don't remember. So chlorine is 35.45, magnesium is 24.305. Okay. So that's going to be 70.9 plus 24.305, and we'll be at 95.205. Okay. And the last thing that we'll do is we'll draw out our line. I was lazy and I forgot to solve for the units first. You guys can, I guess, castigate me on that later. But we go ahead and take 35.4, divide that by 95.205, and we get our answer. Our answer is in moles, so naturally we should think of our moles as being smaller. And this is moles of MgCl2. Alright, so here we have our moles of MgCl2, and we have to round it out, 0.372 moles MgCl2. Okay, and that is how we solve for moles using molar mass. Okay, now this particular one, it is the most important one to memorize because it's going to be used the most often. So just keep that in mind as you're going through the practice here for today. If you have any questions, make sure to ask them, and then we should have a pretty successful time in solving all of these problems here. Okay. Until then, I want to remind you guys all to go ahead and stay lazy and don't do any extra work if you don't have to.